Good afternoon, everyone. This is your boy Alfred from the Shank Club NFL. Trey Lance makes his first start for the 49ers this Sunday. It's going to be interesting. Got some NFL news to get to as well, international games as well. Got some good guests coming in as usual, some of my boys. Got Carl live from a coach. We're going to get into that very, very shortly. If it's your first time on this channel, please hit that like and subscribe button and your notification bell so you know when we are going live. Let's get to it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Again, welcome everybody. Let's get our first guy on as usual in a secret location on some rickety old bus somewhere. Carl, good afternoon. How are you? How's the journey been so far?
Apart from one diversion, I go from a train to a bus. We're actually making good time. We should be arriving in London for about 3:30. Should make our hotel by 4 o'clock. So yeah, it's all a bit steady going, and we're excited. I've also got my best mate with me as well. He's coming to his first ever NFL game. Sadly, it's Jets Falcons, but I digress. But yeah, all very, very excited, and yeah, journey's been quite smooth so far.
Awesome. Obviously got some news to get into so far. I don't know if you've seen the news about the Raiders coach. John Gruden has dropped a massive faux pas, or as we call it in this country, a massive bollock. Have you seen the news and what was said?
Yeah, it's very, 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 very tasteless. Let's just say that. John Gruden's always the sort of person though that doesn't really. He's always an off the cuff type of person, let alone a coach. He always tries and acts to be the renegade compared to everybody else. But yeah, I mean, for what he said to describe the bloke from the NFLPA, yeah, that's just verboten in this day and age, and I think he's going to land himself in extremely hot water for this.
Indeed. I mean, I'm not going to use the direct quote that was taken from the email because, as we say, it's tasteless. But his apology was even more ridiculous. Gruden told the newspaper he was angry at the lockout during the labour negotiations and he didn't trust the direction the union was taking. He also apologised for the remark. I was upset, Gruden said. I used a horrible way of explaining it. I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's a liar, Gruden told the Journal. I don't have a racial bone in my body, and I've proven that for 58 years. Doesn't sound like it to me, Carl. Does it to you? I mean, let's be honest.
No,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And the words of Ian McShane in the film Death Race, I say bullshit.
Sorry, mate, you're having a bit of a connection issue. Try again.
Yeah, it's so laughable. It really is so laughable. Yeah, I apologise for the connection. I'm on 3G. We're going through a load of woodland at the minute, so I think we're close. So
I think the coach Wi-Fi isn't working too well, mate, because you're doing a serious Norman Collier So I don't know if you want to come out and try and come back in again, Carl, because I'm having trouble hearing what you're saying. Come out and come back in, Carl. Hopefully that might sort the connection out. Here he is, king of the chokehold specialists. How are you, Scott? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Nick?
I'm very, very well. I don't know if you heard what Mr. Gruden has been up to. Have you heard the late? Well, I don't know. It probably might not be latest news over there, but I've only just seen it about what Mr. Gruden has been up to.
Yeah, I did. I heard about that.
But he's not got a racialist bone in his body, apparently.
Yeah,
how does that?
I don't know him.
Sound?
Yeah, I don't know him. I've never met him. I never talked to him. I don't know anything about him. So, the email he sent doesn't sound like he's a fan of D. Maurice Smith. I don't know that just because you make fun of the way somebody looks, that means you're a racist. But it definitely looks bad for him. But yeah, again, I don't know the guy. I'm not going to make any judgments on whether he is or he isn't a racist. I have no idea.
See if Carl has put another 50p in the meter on that rickety old bus. Carl, are you back with us?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you at the moment. So tell the driver to stay in the right direction he's driving so that the internet works.
As I said, I'm not using Wi-Fi. I am using 4G, but it's gone down to 3G. So that's probably why my signal is so ropey right now. So you have to bear with me.
No problem, mate. All this technology and stuff. Good to see Izzy in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Good to have you along this morning. She obviously says hello. What's up, Nick and Carl and Scott? Good to see you. Unfortunately, John V, who I invited, his mother-in-law is in hospital and she is on a ventilator with COVID. So my thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family, John. I hope she feels better very, very soon. He said he'll try and join, but obviously timings, etc. It's a bit rough. So exactly, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. What else has grabbed your thoughts in the news this week? The biggest thing for me is the Seattle Seahawks. Their season could have just gone in the toilet because they've lost Russie Wussy. I know Geno. I didn't even know Geno Smith was still in the league. He must be about 60 by now, mustn't he, Scott?
Yeah, no, I don't. He didn't look too bad though. He came in and had that 98-yard drive and capped it off with a touchdown, and then the interception that sealed the loss for him. It was he was thrown to a spot. Tyler Lockett, I don't know. It looked like he kind of maybe tripped. They kind of like showed the replay one time, and so it was hard to tell whether there was interference. It looked like maybe the defender bumped him or ran into him while he was already maybe losing his own balance. I didn't see the replay but once. So, yeah, it sucks, though. I've got a lot of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett shares in my fantasy football leagues. So that's not, what I needed. And, it sucks. I say what you want about Russell Wilson, but I know he's plays for the Seahawks, and they're not yours or I's second favorite team by any stretch of the imagination. But the guy's an exciting player. He's a good player. I hate to see anybody get injured and miss time for that. So, yeah, that's a big hit to them. And they're at 2-3, and they look like their season might be in peril here. They're in a tough division. I don't know that anybody thought they were a Super Bowl contender this year or anything like that, but they're a formidable opponent, and I thought they would have been a playoff team. I thought they would have been able to snag a wild card possibly, but that's going to be tough if they're missing Russell Wilson for 6 or 8 weeks or longer, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And as you know, I'm not Seattle's. Well, I could probably be put down as one at Seattle. Probably, I can't even go that low because I'd probably not be able to get up being my age. As you say, it's not nice when players go out injured. But the funny thing to me about all of this is, from a Niners perspective, obviously, the amount of shit I took over all our injuries, and how the quarterback's not the most important part. And you had it obviously with Mahomes as well. The quarterback's not the most important. You can put anyone in there if the scheme's up. But you lose someone like Russell Wilson, and that is a major blow. It just, in general, a major blow. And as you say, one of the toughest, if not the toughest, division in football. But the thing I don't get, and he's such a cornball. Why was he pictured in a wheelchair when he's fractured his finger?
I didn't see that. When was that?
I mean, I don't know if that's for dramatic effect or I don't know, but I saw that and I just thought that is typical Russell Wilson. Has to overstate.
He had surgery, right? Maybe it was
on his finger, not on his legs.
Yeah, but if you get put under for an operation and you come to, they might wheelchair you to your hospital to recover or something. I don't think you're sitting there on the operating table with their cutting your finger open and putting screws in and you're awake. So, but no, that's funny. It was like, who was the basketball player that was in the wheelchair in the sideline a few years back and then came back and was playing later in the game? Who was that?
Unfortunately, you have one up on me. I don't watch the NBA, but
I don't watch it really either. I want to say it was, was it Paul Pierce? I want to say maybe it was Paul Pierce a number of years ago when he was playing for the Celtics. Maybe if someone's watching and is a basketball fan, maybe they know that. But yeah, that's funny. But again, maybe it was after operation and he was put under and was recovering. So, well, I hope he gets back sooner rather than later, because it just sucks when people have to miss time for injury, which you 49ers fans, you kind of got bitten by that bug, snake bit there the last couple of years with injuries yourselves. And it just sucks. Yeah,
it's not good. And it's funny because one of my best friends is a Seahawks fan. And he was honestly, what you put in this week's loss down to? What, you've had 4,000 injuries and blah, blah. But just face it, you're not very good. And I said to him, you're an injury away from going in the tank. And I kept saying that to him all the time. He was ribbing me. I mean, you can lose DK Metcalf or Bobby Wagner or someone like that without really maybe missing a beat. But when you lose your talisman, the guy that you just rely on all the time, and I'm not saying Gino won't step in and do a bridge job until obviously he cut, but then you don't know how that's going to affect his throwing action and this, because he's obviously going to have it strapped anyway when he comes back. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch, and I will be laughing all the way till about week 10. And hopefully there'll be 2-8 or something hilarious, just so I can go back at my friend who gave me so much shit because the Niners were always injured. Well, now, my friend, you'll get to see what it's like when your star player goes down. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Also, Tampa Bay Buccaneers seem to have been bitten quite recently with the injury bug. I don't know if you saw the New England game. I've only seen highlights. But they didn't look that convincing, especially on the defense. And of course, Gronkowski is still out. Jason Pierre-Paul gone. Jamal Dean gone. Anton Winfield Jr. gone. So it's a bit touch and go for them at the moment, I think.
They are. The season started and they obviously won the Super Bowl last year, and this isn't sour grapes because they beat my Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. I didn't think they were that good last year. They were a wild card team. They were an Aaron Rodgers running the ball into the end zone at the end of the game away from not even making the Super Bowl last year. Then they come out this year and they have a close game to start against the Cowboys. I don't think that they're all that great to begin with. And you add in these injuries now for them, and they're in danger. They're in the danger zone. Just like we were talking about the Seahawks there. They haven't lost their quarterback, obviously, but Gronk is a big loss. He looked like he was. It took him a while to get in the groove last year, and he had a nice game in the Super Bowl. But it looked like maybe he was returning to more of his old form this season than we had seen since he had come back. They are. I haven't been sold. I haven't been a Buccaneers believer since the Tom Brady what was it, the Tampa Bay or whatever. They were Tampa Brady and all that crap that they were doing. And you and I talked about it. Shit, they were a wild card team last year. So
they were one of those
this year
teams,
they
though,
struggled.
Scott, but
What's
they
that?
got hot at the right time, Tampa Bay.
They
and
did
they
get hot at the
struggled
right
early
time.
on. If you remember last season, first few weeks, they struggled. Were they 2-4 or something ridiculous or something along those lines? And then all of a sudden, they started building momentum and obviously made it into the playoffs. So then they got hot. And you've seen it before, not very often with wild card teams, but they got hot at the right time, obviously. And I know I review about Mahomes, etc. But in that Super Bowl, I believe if Mahomes was 100%, that would have been a different game. And we said afterwards, he struggled the whole game. I know your offensive line was banged up, etc. But a 65% mobile Mahomes is still probably better than a lot of QBs in this league. But it affected his throwing action, being able to scramble, being able to extend play. And that did show. So who knows? If Mahomes would have been, and your line would have been a bit better, it could have been a whole different game. But as you say, when they won the Super Bowl, everyone picked them to repeat and this, that, and it's just, level went up to there, and now it's starting to slowly come back down again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them going forward. Because as you say, I mean, that defense is obviously one of their main strengths. And if you haven't got a decent defense, it doesn't matter what Brady does the other side of the ball. If you can't stop the other team, it doesn't matter, does it?
No, but the one thing you can't account for, like you were just talking about with the Super Bowl and all the injuries to Patrick, he had the turf toe issue going and had surgery after in the offseason. And you look at the injuries to the offensive line, they had drops. Tyreek Hill, I believe, had a drop in the end zone or right at the end zone in that game. There was another guy that Darrell Williams dropped a touchdown in that game. You look at Tom Brady, you can never account for the Tom Brady's luck. So no matter what you think or how you feel about the Buccaneers, the guy's he catches breaks at an unreal clip. I've been waiting for years for it to come back, swing back the other way. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. And their defense, everybody's talking about Tampa Bay defense, but their defense got torched by the Rams. Their defense got worked over pretty well by the Cowboys in that first game. Their defense doesn't even look like the defense of the second half of last year in the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
Definitely. Are you going to be getting up at stupid o'clock to watch the Jets and the Falcons at the Tottenham Stadium this week?
No. I made a joke on Twitter that us sending you that game was payback for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for you sending us that two lovely pair of individuals there. So, no, that's maybe could they have picked any two worse teams to play in London this year? I don't know. New York's obviously the New York team, the Jets. They're popular. They have a lot of fans just because they live in one of the biggest cities and biggest TV markets in America. The Falcons, I don't know. It seems like maybe they try to avoid sending the premier names and teams, the top teams to London. I don't know if they think maybe the travel is an unfair advantage, so they don't want a team like the Chiefs or the Buccaneers or the Packers to go over and play over there in those games in the London series. But geez, that's a terrible matchup. There'll probably be a lot of people there just because it's football, though. I mean, you could send us two bottom barrel Premier League teams, and a lot of people are going to go just because you don't get to see it very often. But yeah, that's an awful game, and no, I don't plan on getting up early. I won't be setting the alarm for Falcons Jets.
I did, like you, did think it was. I mean, apparently the Falcons were supposed to come last year. I don't know who the matchup would have been against, and to be fair to the Falcons, they've stunk for a couple of years, so it was never going to end well, I don't think, for the Falcons coming over this way. Jets are probably, because they're East Coast, 8-hour flight. You're not really going to be, whilst you will have jet lag because it's 5 hour time difference. It's not cut like coming from the West Coast kind of thing.
Right.
Apparently, there are thousands of tickets left. And I was discussing this Wednesday where you were watching the show, whether it would harm the NFL international brand. And no disrespect to the Jets or to the Falcons. They could both be, divisional leaders at the moment. But it's not, as you say, it's not really a sexy game. It's not something that grabs the imagination. And what do you think it could ruin the not ruin, that's a bit strong. Harm the reputation of the international series in this country if it's a real stinker of a game? I mean, people are going to show up in the UK. All 32 teams will be represented. They always are. Probably more neutrals than maybe. I mean, the Jets have got quite a big following. I'm not sure about Atlanta. I expect they will have fans, obviously, because people will come out for that. But I'm not sure as a spectacle it's going to be one. I mean, I'm going to watch it because it's 2:30 over here in the UK, so I shall sit down and watch it. But it's going to be it could end up being a really tough watch before the next set of games comes along.
Well, yeah, it might hurt it a little bit. I think if you've got attendance down, though, I think that the NFL could blame COVID a bit. Maybe people are still hesitant to go out because of that. Although it looks like other sporting events I've seen over there in the UK have been full capacity. People are out there. So I don't know if they try to use that as an excuse, it would be a good excuse or not. I mean, they're going to have the game over there every year regardless. Unless you see 2 or 3 or 4 years in a row where you've got a half-empty stadium, they're going to keep having the game over there. There's a lot of money in it. The people think that money for these teams and for events like this comes from, poor attendance, and that these decisions are driven by money, and the advertising and the marketing and the TV dollars are what keep the league and the teams. That's what keeps them coming back and keeps them afloat. Even the worst teams that have 3/4 empty stadiums still make money, and still the team's not in danger of folding up anytime because they get so much money from advertising and TV networks, things like that. So I don't think you need to be worried about the London series just because you have a stinker of a game. I did reach out to my season ticket representative with the Chiefs and asked him if there's any way I could lobby to have the Chiefs in the London series game next year, because I do plan on coming over and checking it out. I think it'd be cool. I've never been over there. You get people that want to travel over there, and like you said, it's an event for when they have English Premier League games here. They'll send teams over. I remember they sent doggone, who was he playing for this time? David Beckham came over and played. They had a premier matchup at Arrowhead Stadium, and it was packed.
That would have been Manchester United back then.
Yeah, Man U. Yeah, they came over and they played at MLS. I think they played Sporting KC back when they were the Wizards, and actually we won that game. Now that was their B squad, but they did have David Beckham. So I think the NFL would be wise to convince some of these teams or to schedule maybe a game every few years, every so often, with a star player and a premier team. It would draw interest. But yeah, you saw fans, like you were mentioning, you saw every different premiership jersey at that game, even though it was one Premier League team that came over and played. Just because you see these teams play your squad on TV, and it's a novelty thing. You don't get it very often. It's cool. You're going to see a Premier League team. The MLS All-Star Game does this too, where they have, instead of selecting two teams of all-stars from each conference, they select all-stars from the entire league. And then I went over and I saw when they had the all-star game here in Kansas City, they played AS Roma. They'll have like a Premier League team, or they'll have a Serie A or whatever they call it in Italy come over and play. So, and you see fans of all the different teams. So if it's not a very popular team, I don't think that helps. But I think it would be smart to have some top shelf teams, some contending teams with some star players, at least every few years, come over there and play in the London series.
Thing is, I quote me if I'm wrong, because obviously it's a lot to do with the home team. The home team needs to give up that revenue that they would earn from a home game. And I seem to remember the 49ers have been twice when I think they were the home team. I'm not sure when Kansas came over, because Kansas have been over. I'm not sure if they were the home team or not. I would say probably not. And that, I think, is the issue where you'll never see a team like the Steelers as the home team, or the Green Bay Packers as the home team. So you're quite restricted. I don't know. what would you say would be like the elite teams, if you like, that wouldn't want to give up a home game? I think you could say the Chiefs, the Packers, the Steelers, and I can't think of any more really that jumps out to me that would give up on that scale. If you think of those teams, Bucks maybe. I don't know if they've been the home team, but obviously the hype that's rolling with them now. And that's the issue, because obviously then you've got the schedule. So you've got to try and fit these games in around either the bye week or whatever. And I think the biggest problem is that the elite or the teams don't want to give up these home games to come to London. And you kind of understand that. Sure. So you end up very restricted as to who you can have. Because, as I say, I'm pretty sure the Niners gave up 2 home games when they played over there, and I was hoping they were going to come this year. And they didn't.
The Chiefs,
I don't
when the
think
Chiefs
LA Rams wouldn't give up a home game. The Raiders, because obviously new stadiums, they wouldn't. The Chargers possibly would, because let's be honest, when most of the team Chargers play at home, it's a takeover for whoever they're playing. They could be playing the Alaskan Husky Dogs, and the Alaskan people would show up at their stadium.
Yeah, they don't have a home field ever. They play 17 road games, it seems like the Chargers do. So the Chiefs, when the Chiefs played in London, they actually did give up. They were the home team in that game. But that was right when Alex Smith had first gotten here, and Andy Reid had only been here for a couple of years. So they were not the Chiefs now.
So that makes that, looking back then, that does make sense. But as you say, they wouldn't do that now, bearing in mind where they are. I don't think they would.
A contending team is not going to give up a home game But you could do like the perfect example would be this game last week, the Chiefs and the Eagles. Chiefs were the road team. Eagles are a decent team with some players on there, but no one is expecting them to be a Super Bowl champion. You could have had that game in London. Visiting as that you're talking about them being an East Coast team, so you don't have the travel issue as much, the effect as much on the team. So that would have been a prime game right there that I think could have been a London game. The Chiefs versus the Eagles. You get Patrick Mahomes in London. You get a team that's got some well-known players. Jalen Hurts played at Alabama and Oklahoma. Devonta Smith, I'm pretty sure he was the Heisman winner, and he played Alabama. They've got some star power. They're an up-and-coming team. Team like that maybe gives up a home game, and the team like the Chiefs or Green Bay or the Rams, like we were talking about, one of these Tampa Bay, one of these teams that's expected to be a contender with a superstar quarterback on their roster could play. That I feel like that could have been a London game.
I think if I think about it as well, and as crappy as Philadelphia has been, I think that's another team that wouldn't want to give up a home game. Just turning it over in my head as you were talking, there were a lot. I think they're probably even not what we would class as the top 10 teams in the NFL would want to give up a home game, and I think that's the issue. Because I mean, I can't see, as I say, I can't see the Rams or the Raiders for the next 5 years wanting to give up a home game because of their new shiny stadiums, etc. So yeah, it's a weird one. Got someone else just popped in. Let's bring him on. Ryan, how are you? Good afternoon. Good morning, actually, to you. Ryan, how you doing? Are you with us, Ryan?
I'm with you, yeah. I'm right here. Can you hear me?
How you doing, Ryan? Good morning. How are you? Happy Saturday.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. All
Sorry
good.
about
All good.
it was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? Was it Wednesday? That popped on.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I was at work. I don't work for a drive-through company.
You don't? It looked like you did. It looked like you were in a drive-through window.
Nah. I work for a gas station.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to figure out the time to talk to you, and I was busy with cars, so it was all messed up that day.
That's cool. That's cool. Obviously you've just joined us. We're talking about the teams and why certain teams don't come to London, because obviously we're discussing the Jets and Falcons game that's due tomorrow at 2:30 local UK time, saying that it's not exactly a sexy matchup, and we're just trying to work out why these two teams are the ones that have ended up here and why you don't see some of the top tier teams wanting to give up home games. And obviously that game tomorrow for the Jets and Falcons fans, it's amazing because they get to see their teams. But for the neutral in this country that's maybe going along and spending up to $100 on a ticket, it doesn't grab you by the balls and make you want to sit up and watch it.
I mean, I'm glad they got early games. I mean, but still. Do you know why they're doing the games from that place or no? I don't know why they're doing it from UK or whatever they're doing it from. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the UK. And it's money, and it's probably one of the biggest growth. Well, the NFL in the UK. I mean, I've been been a fan since '79, and I've seen the game grow. We've got our own leagues over here. We've got flag football over here. We've got, different leagues. We have our own brick bowl and things like that. So it's bought here purely for money, but secondly, because the game is so popular over here. And the games have been at least 10 years, and every single one has sold out. Now, I'm told there are still quite a few tickets left for tomorrow's game. So you could maybe put that down to a bit of COVID. You could put that down to, various other things. Just bring Carl back in. So, yeah, it's just maybe these two teams were the only ones that would travel. I mean, I don't know. Are there any travel restrictions in the US for coming over to the UK? Are we going to see fans from both teams coming across this side of the pond to watch the game, or is it like here there is travel restrictions?
I think the restrictions are by the hosting country. So whatever England or the UK, whatever their rules are over there. I know a coworker of mine usually goes to Aruba for vacation every winter, and they're going somewhere else because Aruba wanted you to have proof of both having 2 vaccine shots. You had to have a test within 72 hours of going there. Then you had to get a test when you got there. Then you had to quarantine for 48 hours after you got there with even a negative test to get tested again. And so I think if you wanted to go to England, it would be whatever your rules over there are for incoming international visitors, travelers are.
I think it's pretty much the same as what you've described for over there. I know we are probably a bit forward, but we have to have what they call a COVID passport. So I'm double jabbed, and you have to show a QR code on your phone to say that, that you are double jabbed, etc., etc. When I had to take my stepdaughter to university last Saturday, which is why I wasn't on, when we travelled up there, we had to do a test before we went. She then had to do a test when she got there, even though she only was in the car. So I don't get how that works. But anyway, so she had to do 2 tests and show that she tested negative before they'd let her enroll for her second year at university. So, there's probably different rules for different countries. I think USA opened up international travel with a COVID passport, says the Kingdom Cast. So that's interesting. It'd be interesting to see if any fans do come over from the States, because again, a lot of people, when their teams play in this country, use it as a good excuse to come to London and obviously take in the whole experience. And it's quite novel because you can stay. Most people come for 3 weeks or 2 weeks and do the whole London thing, and then they maybe go to Stonehenge or go wherever and do whatever, because you can probably do all of the sites in London in a day. So it'll be interesting to see. And obviously Carl, who's now on the train, I believe, because that looks like you are on the train, and it looks like you might have Wi-Fi.
I don't have Wi-Fi, no. I've gone still on 4G, but we're working now, so we're working to London Waterloo now, so yeah, we're getting there. We're slowly getting there.
At least you're off that crappy bus.
Hey, Carl, I don't know if you saw it. But I flashed my wife's jersey to you. I guess you're a Boston Bruins fan?
I am a Bruins fan, yes. Or by default, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife's been in Boston. She's from Boston, so.
It's just a good taste.
Cool. So,
yeah,
we all know by now that it is.
How bad is the COVID been in the UK?
I think we are over 130,000 deaths. I think I saw. We're still getting a lot of cases, but we're ahead of the curve with the vaccine. So obviously, the deaths have slowed right down. The cases are still quite high, but obviously if you're double jabbed, it lowers the chance of you being hospitalized and things like that. So I think we're pretty much under control in that respect. But it's still obviously, well, no one's out of the woods.
That's good.
It's still quite a bad thing. And people are now getting booster jabs. So they've been double jabbed and now they're getting a booster jab. And of course, flu is a big thing over in this country. So they're getting flu jabs as well. So you can have more pinholes than a dartboard by the end of the year. There's so many injections you got to have. It's yeah, you know, it's everyone. I mean, I'm double jabbed. I don't think I'll be called for a booster. I may be by the end of the year. I don't know, because although I'm not vulnerable, I'm an old fucker, so I'm in that age group where I fall into maybe getting an extra jab. Who knows? My mum had hers. She's 89 and she had a booster yesterday. So it's it's still quite prevalent in this country, but I think it's quite much under control purely because we obviously jumped on the vaccines early and you know, in that respect. What's it like for you guys over there? Is it still quite bad in a lot of cases, or is that in under control as well?
You want to join, guys?
I couldn't hear what you said. There's something got a lot of background noise or something. I don't know if that's Carl or who that is, but
Might be me. Might be me. Might be me. It might be me. Hold on. Go ahead. You guys can go.
Yeah, Scott, I was just going to say, what's it like with the COVID over there now, jabs wise, and obviously death rates and things like that? Is that reported daily over your side of the pond, or is it sort of not reported? Because every day here we have the latest figures come out and they're on the news, and you find out, you know, what's going on with it.
yeah, I don't watch the news, so I couldn't tell you. The cases, I know the Delta variant thing has been, you know, there was quite a few cases of that. The vaccines, number of people getting vaccinated at this point is kind of tapered off. I think everybody that's comfortable getting it and wants to get it has gotten it, and anybody that was on the fence or didn't want to get it is not getting it. So I know in Kansas City, I heard numbers because they just extended the mask mandate, and our rolling average of cases for a week is only about 200 cases a week for a city that's got almost 3 million in the metro area. That's really not very many people. So you're starting to see more and more people not be concerned with it. Outlying areas, they're starting to not really worry about or have the mask mandates, or if they do have it, they're not really strictly enforcing a lot of that stuff. I went to the Chiefs home opener and it was packed. People are getting back to normal over here day by day, week by week.
So is it mandatory to wear a mask outside and inside, or it's not mandatory at all now?
No, well, here in Kansas City, you're supposed to wear a mask if you're indoors and you can't social distance. So, but that most places you can go indoors and stay 6 feet away from somebody. And like I said, a lot of places aren't really enforcing it all that strictly. So it's more for show, I think, at this point than anything. Most people seem to be, like I said, if they've got the vaccine, if they wanted the vaccine, they've gotten it. And if people want to wear masks, they wear them. But for the most part, people are getting back to normal, and it's not as big a deal as it was. I think by this time next year, we'll be back to business as usual.
So I'm just chuckling. Freddie, the poshest member of the Shank Club, said he couldn't come on this weekend because he was going to Plymouth Argyle versus Burton Albion. And me and Cole basically took the piss and said, "Oh, well, that you and your friend will be the only ones there." And he's just, what's the time now? So it's, when did he send this? A little while ago. And he just sent me a picture of the stadium, and it's virtually empty. Sorry, which just made me chuckle.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. If you're a 49ers fan, Trey Lance. Trey Day has arrived. Trey area. Number 5 is going to be starting against the Cardinals tomorrow. Let's get an outside perspective on this whole seems to be shit show that's been going on. Is he, isn't he? Will he, won't he? What do you think, Carl, regarding Trey finally getting his start for the Niners? Do you think that's it for Jimmy? Oh, look, typical. Get him to do his piece and his internet goes down.
It did that to me last week, didn't it? Wasn't that with me that it happened to? You went and you asked me a question, and right when you stopped, got that answer, asking the question, my phone disappeared.
So I'll give it to you then, Scott.
How's this? This is better? Is this better?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. We can hear you perfectly now.
Better?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any. Cool. So what's your feeling, Scott, as an outsider, as a neutral regarding Trey Lance, Jimmy G going forward? Do you think we've seen the last of Jimmy G, or what do you think?
Well, that's obviously going to depend on whether you see Jimmy G again. That's obviously going to depend on how Trey plays, right? I don't think, and I was kind of having this discussion with Danny G, who's one of my guys there on Twitter, is a Niners fan. He's a cool dude. He's a reasonable guy. I enjoyed talking with him. And we were kind of had some dialogue going back and forth on Twitter this week about that. For me, I think if you are a Trey Lance supporter, I think that this is not the ideal situation for him to come in and start playing and be the starter. I feel that if the organization thought he was ready to start, he would be starting. So to me, kind of thrusting him in there and rushing him in because of an injury to Jimmy G is putting him in before the team and the organization and the coaching staff thinks he's ready, which I don't think is a good thing for him, and I don't think it's a good thing for the organization. That doesn't mean that he can't come in and play well. I'm not saying that he won't be a good player, that he's going to play poorly or play well. But to me, I think the ideal situation, especially if you're – and I see a lot of the people back and forth that are Trey supporters and want Trey to start, they're excited. They've got big expectations. I think especially for those fans, this is not the way you wanted it to happen. I think ideally you would have waited until the team, everybody was comfortable with him being the starter, thought he was ready, thought he had a grasp of the offense, thought he was prepared and had seen enough being the backup to go in and take over at the right time. To me, this seems like that's rushing that a bit. And I don't think anytime you rush anything, that's a good thing. So I don't think that means he's not going to be good, but I don't feel that, looking at this as an outsider, I don't think that if the team thought he was ready, he would have been starting, right? So to me, looking at it, it feels like maybe this is rushed, and I don't think that's a good thing, especially if you're a Trey supporter.
Indeed. He's popped back up again. He holds up. Carl, I gave you your big build-up, and then you bailed. What's your thoughts, Jimmy G, etc.?
Jimmy G's gone down injured. I think, it's now time to throw the kid into the fire, chuck him to the wolves. Let's see what he is capable of. It's going to be a real hard one. He's going up against the Cardinals team, which a lot of people kind of just pushed to one side, thinking that they weren't going to be of anything really because of Kingsbury. Yet they're very undefeated. In the NFL, actually all right, considering we thought they weren't going to be that great. Lance is going to add a different dimension to the 49ers offense. We know what he is. He can be a dual threat at times, and he didn't look out of place against Seattle last week. I think for now, this isn't the be all and end all for Jimmy Garoppolo, is it? It will only be if Trey Lance ends up ends up doing a Patrick Mahomes and just kill and just destroys everyone on the field for 400 yards and rushes for another 100. But I don't see that at all. I think give Trey Lance a chance. I know how you feel about him, but you have to give the kid a chance at some point in the season, whether it's due to an injury or whether it's the final 1 or 2 games of the regular season and you're not going to make the playoffs. You're going to have to find out what he is like in real proper game time, not just what we've seen in pre-season so far.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that interests me, and I before I go to Ryan, I just want to ask Scott, what was Mahomes' debut like when he was brought in? Did he take over from week 1 for Alex Smith, or was Alex Smith injured and then he came in? And how did his debut go? And obviously, we all know what he's like now, and I'm not comparing Lance to him at all. But can you remember how it went? Was it as expected? Was it better than expected when Mahomes made his debut for your team?
He kind of
I thought it was a
made his
concussion
debut
for Alex
in
Smith. I thought
the
it
final
was.
week of the last season that Alex Smith was here, because they had already had the division wrapped up and it was not a big game. It was against the Broncos, and he came in and crushed it and played awesome, led a game-winning drive. And then the following year, they traded Alex Smith off, and he took over week 1. And that was the beginning of the 50 touchdown pass, 5,000 passing yards season. He took off from day 1 and killed it. But he wasn't put in because of an injury, or the team felt that he needed a year. And behind Alex Smith, he had that year. He did play the last game of that season against the Denver Broncos and looked really good. Then came in and was the starter. They traded Alex Smith in that offseason after they lost that playoff game to the Titans at home. So he had the entire offseason. He had all of training camp, OTAs, mini camps, everything as the starter. He was well prepared, had plenty of time knowing going in that he was going to be the starter, and came in and crushed it.
I think a lot of 49ers fans have got everything crossed that that's what's going to happen with Lance. My personal feeling is, like you were saying, Carl, and everyone knows my stance on this, if they'd have thought he'd have been ready, he would have been in before now. They obviously see things that we don't, that the media doesn't, that everyone else doesn't, and they were erring on the side of caution. Now they've got no choice. They've got to put the kid in there. And last week, I thought he was okay. He was hitting high throws, low throws, missing throws, but you could see the potential there, which is what a lot of people wanted to see, me included. Now, again, tomorrow is going to be Kyle is using Lance's game plan. He's not using Jimmy's because apparently they didn't have scripted plays for Lance, or the ones they had, obviously they weren't expecting him to have to come in. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Trey can do with his own scripted set plays, whatever you want to call it, designed especially for him. Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Okay. What I got from the presser was that Kyle was saying something about packages from Garoppolo and Lance. So I'm thinking that he took some plays that he was doing in practice and he put it into a package only for Lance. So that's what I think about the packages. And I know the whole world wasn't ready for the Lance thing, but a lot of people were happy about it though. Because last week when he came in, you seen him, the throws were off. You seen that. But he progressed. He progressed as he was going. So to me, I just hope that progression carries on to this week, which I'd be very excited. I'm sure everybody else would be too. So
yeah, you definitely
forward
want
to
to
seeing
see
Lance,
what this,
and I can't wait to see him.
you definitely want to see what this kid's got to offer. Of course you do. And it's his first start. He hasn't played for a long time. So he is going to have to knock some rust off and see what happens. Yeah, it was a shame he couldn't bring us back enough, obviously, last week. But it is what it is. It's going to be interesting. I know everyone's going to be holding their breath to see how the kid does. Right, let's pick some games. And we're going to start with the shitfest. That is the International Series game at Wembley Stadium tomorrow. Carl's going to be live in the stadium with coffee and morphine to keep him awake, I'm sure. Jets Falcons. What a stellar game this is going to be. Mr. Smug, who are you going for?
Hey, just real quick, I want to go back to the Trey Lance thing. I hope he comes in and plays well. Okay, I want people to succeed, and I hate seeing people come in and fail. So I want the guy to be good. I just don't think it's ideal circumstances. All I'm trying to say. With that said, the game, I don't know who wins the game. The real losers are the people of England and London who are going to the game and have to watch that crap fest like Carl. I'm going to go. The Jets beat the Titans. Zach Wilson, he made some throws. I hadn't watched his games. That guy can make some throws, man, that a lot of people in this league can't make. They look pretty fired up too. Maybe they've got some momentum. The Falcons are just a dumpster fire. Every year they underperform. They underachieve. I'll pick the Jets to win this game.
I agree. Some of the throws that Zach Wilson made last week show that why you can see why he went second overall. They've just got to get more of that sort of play for him.
That pass he threw in the overtime to the guy along the sideline, man.
That was on a wire.
That was a beautiful pass. Unbelievable.
And it's obviously, and again, people point to Justin Fields looked better. Obviously, Zach Wilson looked better. Mac Jones has started to come good. I'm going to go Jets, I think, on this one. I just don't think that Atlanta are, they can't put everything on Stafford's back. Stafford, what am I talking about? Matty Ice is back because he's not as mobile as he once was. And I think that's quite a big issue. I think you're seeing the regression of him and certainly Big Ben this year through these first four games. So, yeah, I'm going to go Jets. I'm going to try and start. I would rather take a bet on if I'm going to stay awake for the whole game than actually who wins it. But I'm still going to pick the Jets. Carl, you're going to be there. How much did you pay for your ticket, just out of interest? He's frozen again. Look, he's done it on purpose. Ryan, who have you got in this game as Carl has frozen in a rather unfortunate pose?
I don't know what Carl was going for. But if he was going for the Jets, Zach Wilson, I was going to be a lone wolf. I was going for the Falcons. For some reason, I'm just going to go for the Falcons. For some reason.
We'll come back to if Carl makes it back on. You may be lone wolfing, but we'll come back to that one. Lions Vikings is the next game up. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Even though our wonderful coach wanted him so bad in our system, so I'm going to in that one.
Sorry, you broke up a bit. Who did you say?
I'm sorry. Cousins.
Right.
Vikings.
Okay. Yeah, the Lions are 0-4. I can't see him getting off the schneid yet. Minnesota have won 7 straight games against Detroit. I can't see that changing. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the Vikings. Or is it going to be a full house, Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Vikings. I couldn't believe the Lions lost to the Bears last week. They had played some teams tough. They played Green Bay tough for a half. They kind of came back and made a game of it against the 49ers. Then they take the Ravens to the wire, and the Ravens had to have a NFL record field goal that shouldn't have even counted at the end to beat them. And then they come out and lose to the Bears after the Bears just looked terrible and had one of the absolute worst performances in NFL history against the Browns the week before, and then they lose to the Bears. I don't know what's going on with the Lions. Yeah, Vikings, they're a solid squad. They played the Browns pretty tough last week, so yeah, I'm picking Vikings.
Definitely. And the next game, Saints versus the football team. What the hell has gone on with this Washington defense? It was supposed to be a top 5 defense. Chase Young, etc., going to, light up the NFL. And quite frankly, they've been really disappointing to me. And they're third overall in the stats of allowing 30.5 points a game this season, which isn't an elite defense for me. I do like their QB, I must admit, and he's made some great throws, and they got great receivers. And the Saints just Saint. It's a tough one. I mean, if I could take a push on this, I would. But I think Washington will win it by a field goal. What do you think, Scott?
I'm going to pick the Saints. NFL defense is so, especially if you play fantasy football, defenses from year to year fluctuate and are so fickle. It's really, really hard to tell who's going to have a good defense and who's not going to have a good defense from year to year. Washington, I agree. I like that. I like Heineke, however you pronounce his last name. I've heard it both ways. But the Saints they've got Alvin Kamara and they've got some weapons on offense. Like you mentioned, Washington's defense has not been as good as expected, not up to par. So go Saints.
Yeah, it's pronounced Heineke, I think. Heineke. I think that's how I pronounce it.
Sorry, I didn't realise I was on mute. Who have you got? Sorry, Ryan, who have you got?
I got the Saints. We're going for Jimmy Winterson, yes, because I hope Kamara can off his running back. The running back, Kamara.
The first lone wolf of the predictions for today goes to me then, because obviously I was the only one to pick WTF. So all I can say to that is, I do like a lone wolf.
So I know Carl was going in Atlanta game, so I would have done it myself.
Yeah, well,
if we don't get Carl back, Ryan's got a lone wolf to do too here at the end. So.
That's very true. We might. Well, apparently Carl is almost at the train station, and he will try and jump back on, but his signal isn't very good. I'd just give that as an excuse so he doesn't have to do any lone wolves. Patriots, Texans.
Tell Carl to get a damn car.
I know. It's bad. Want to say a quick hello to CG Ruthless Sports. Hope you're doing well, sir. Thanks for joining. Patriots, Texans. Does anybody actually give the Texans a chance in this game?
No.
I mean, I know they're both 1-3, and both seasons are in the realms of going into the shit, but you just can't see Belichick losing to a team like you can't. I just can't see it. But stranger things have happened. Dolphins, Buccaneers. Obviously, we were talking about what was happening with.
I didn't pick the Patriots or anything.
So, did you not pick? Sorry. So you're going for?
Yeah, I was going for Patriots.
Yeah, yes.
It's okay. Even though that it was thought Mac Jones was going to us, but I'm going for the Patriots.
Dolphins, Buccaneers. Now,
sorry about that. Sorry.
That's okay. We all know the hype of the Buccaneers. We also know they got loads of injuries, key players out, defense isn't playing well. Dolphins, I don't know. Is Tua still out or is he back in? I haven't seen anything, so I'm assuming he still must be out. Again, depleted on offense. Dolphins. I can't see. I just can't see the Dolphins beating the Buccaneers in this at all. Really, it's just I can't. I'm not sold on Tua. I'm still not sold on him. Rumors are they're still trying to find someone to trade for him or something like that. I don't know what's gone wrong with him. We've discussed it before. I just think lefties look weird throwing the football. That's just me. But I can't make a case for the Dolphins, whoever's under centre, I'm afraid. So I'm going with the Bucks. Scott?
I can see the Dolphins winning, but I'm not going to pick the Dolphins to win. I'll pick Tampa Bay.
Ryan?
You're on mute, brother.
I don't know if he... you're on mute, Ryan, if you can hear us. Oh, there you go. No. There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Ryan,
I know. I had to take it off. Sorry. I'm going for Tom Brady. I don't see Dolphins doing anything, so.
Yeah, the burner account there, Scott, jumped in. What's Tom Brady's record against Miami? Now, I'm pretty sure when he was with New England, the Dolphins did win a few games, but nowhere near as many as you'd like to think. And normally, at least once every couple of seasons, the Pats used to lay an egg against Miami. But it's not, I wouldn't have thought it was that many. So, but I think we're all in agreement. This next one's quite interesting. Packers versus the Bengals. Now, the Bengals defense has stepped up the last couple of weeks and they've started to play. They're 3-1. Who would have thought the Bengals would be 3-1 in week 5, considering how they've probably been the butt of most NFL jokes for quite a few seasons. Joe Burrow, we've discussed him before. They seem to got the protections right for him. He's not getting killed every week, just sometimes in some of the weeks. And Cincinnati have won 3 of the last 4 games versus the Packers. Ryan, who are you going to go for in this one, Packers or the Bengals?
Even though they're 3-1, with I forget their quarterback.
Burrow.
Remind me, please. I can't remember the name now.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. There you go. Yeah. I don't see Packers losing this game for some reason. I just don't know why. I don't think Aaron Rodgers. I'd be surprised. I'll take the loss. If Bengals win. I'll take the loss though. I'll take that. I got Packers. Yeah.
It's definitely, I think this is going to be the game I'm going to watch in the early slate because I'm really interested to see if this Bengals are a real 3-1 team or they've just played shit teams before they come up against the the Packers. I'm still going to take Aaron Rodgers over Joe Burrow just because it's Aaron Rodgers. We saw what he did against the Niners late on. And he's got so many weapons at his disposal. I know one of the Smith brothers is still out on that Packers defense, but Randall Cobb again reappeared. He hadn't been anywhere all season, and then he reappeared last week. So I'm going to take the Packers in this one, but it could be a very interesting game, especially for a neutral like me to watch before the main event, obviously, which is the Niners. What do you think, Scott?
Bengals have showed some flashes of being decent or actually a pretty good football team this year, but I still think they're maybe a year or so away. They look kind of up and down to me. They had a game where they struggled against a team where they should have won easily a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to remember who that team was now, but I thought they were going to go in after the way they had started and just kind of get an easy win, and they didn't. Aaron Rodgers, it's hard to pick against him. So Green Bay for me.
Okay. Did you pick Ryan? Sorry, you did, didn't you? You said Packers.
Yeah, he picked Green Bay.
Yeah, so we all went Green Bay.
Yeah, I picked Packers. Yeah, Packers, yeah.
The next game has got the biggest potential to be an even worse game than the one that's going to be in London this weekend. Broncos, Steelers. Drew Lock. Don't anyone diss Drew Lock. He's my boy from Mizzou. You got Drew Lock under center for the Broncos, and you've got an aging, regressing, turnstile, Statue of Liberty QB on the other side of the ball. The Steelers defense has been trying to keep them honest, keep them in games, but there's been no difference in this offense, I'm afraid. They fired the offensive coordinator last year. And to me, I think they've regressed, or even they're the same as they were. They're not any different. And this could be a 6-3 game because I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense on show. I'm still going to go with Drew Lock, as bad as everyone thinks he is. I've got to side with my boy from Mizzou. And apparently, looking at the stats, Roethlisberger is 3-4 in regular season games versus Denver, and he's had 1+ interception in each of the games. And I don't see that changing tomorrow. So I'm going to go with Denver to win 6-3 in a thriller. Scott?
If you keep talking about Mizzou on here, Nick, I'm gonna have to stop coming on, man. That's just uncalled for. I'm not gonna pick the Broncos. I don't care how bad Big Ben looks. With Drew Lock, their defense is decent, but they got exposed as a fraud against the Ravens last week. The Steelers found a way to beat the Bills in Buffalo. I think they've got a few weapons. Ben Roethlisberger can just get the ball. He doesn't have to be spectacular. So I'm going to pick the Steelers in this game.
Yeah, I knew you'd never pick Mizzou for obvious reasons. And you know my reasons why I have to pick the Mizzou guys. Ryan, what's your thoughts?
I hope the Broncos defensive line gets that Roethlisberger. I hope you do. I'm sorry. I do not like Burger. That's why I used to call him when I used to grow up. I used to call him Burger. So yes, I got the Broncos.
Oh. For the probably one of the first times ever, we have got a lone wolf from Mr. Smug. Mr. Smug, let me hear you, lone wolf. I'm sure you emptied the room of some of your furniture to get that really cool echo effect. That sounded like you've got apart from doing your burner account on your lap, you've got a sound box with a wolf sound on it, because that was authentic, man. That was authentic.
I've been practicing, Nick.
Thank you.
Practicing. Tall ceiling.
That sounded really, really cool, actually.
I got to look for it.
Eagles Panthers is the next game up. Hurts and Darnold both ranking top 10 combined pass and rush yards this season. Darnold looks a different QB. I watched the Panthers game last week where he rushed for 2 touchdowns. He made some good throws. And he seems resurrected and living up to the potential. He still does make some bonehead plays, but then QBs of that level are always going to be susceptible to doing that sort of thing. Jalen Hurts, obviously saw him against the Niners. They tried the Philly special. Yeah, I think the Panthers all day for this for me. I'm still not convinced by Jalen Hurts. Eagles need to get a run game going. They're 1-3 in the probably the worst division in football. I can't see anything other than the Panthers win. Ryan, who have you got?
And we're talking about the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Eagles, Panthers.
I would only go for the Eagles. Or I should call them Smeagles. I've always called them that way. I would only go for them when they go into our division. Our division. That's when I'll go for them. So, here, first one here. So, yes, I got the Panthers.
Scott?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts looked like Steve Young against our defense last week. So their defense, Eagles defense, is terrible. The Panthers defense is pretty decent. Sam Darnold, you're right, Nick, has looked different. They're kind of using him to his strengths. I feel like the Jets tried to turn him into this downfield passing, aired out quarterback. That's just not who he is. He's mobile. He's more mobile than you think. He can kind of get out and scramble and make some plays. I think Christian McCaffrey is coming back this week, so I'm going to go with the Panthers.
I'll tell you if I did see something about McCaffrey. Let's have a look. Doubtful to play against the Eagles. Not that really means anything, because I never really believe the injury reports that come out. I know the teams have to put them out, but someone could be on their deathbed and listed as questionable or doubtful, and then all of a sudden, when Jay Glazer does his thing in the Fox pregame show, they're playing. So I don't know how much credence you can take for these injury reports. So, but yeah, we're going for a clean sweep on the Panthers. One team that really interests me this year, and one that doesn't, Titans Jaguars. The Jaguars are their usual dumpster fire. Coach loves having a good time in a club with women all draped over him. And you'd think that these people, doesn't matter whether he's a head coach or a player, and it happens here with soccer players, everyone's got mobile phones these days. Everyone's taking pictures, and lo and behold, we all know what went on. I think Urban Meyer's going to have a mystery illness by about week 9 and probably get fired or leave by mutual consent. Titans, I don't get what's going on with the Titans. I know when they signed Tannehill to that big contract, I did think that was a bit weird, because I think he was very overrated, and he was lucky because he had a decent line and decent receivers, etc. Derrick Henry, again, apart from that one game he went off a couple of weeks ago, he hasn't really been Derrick Henry, and I know he normally only gets hot in November time. But I can't see the Titans losing this one. I really can't. I just don't. I can't make a case for the Jags. I really can't. And I'm going Titans all day. Scott?
Yeah, Titans are kind of in the same boat as the Chiefs. When your defense is playing that poorly, you can lose any game. I mean, they just lost to the Jets last week. So, but yeah, the Jaguars, they got a ton of issues. I will say in Urban Meyer's defense, if you're gonna get busted on cell phone for messing around or doing whatever he was doing, that's the kind of girl you want to get busted doing it with. At least she wasn't some, wasn't a 5. He got busted messing around with a 10. So he did it. If you're gonna get caught, you might as well make it worth it. So he should have never. He stayed behind in Ohio instead of traveling back with the team. That was his first mistake. That's when you're the head coach, man, you don't just tell the team, "Oh, well, you guys going back to Jacksonville and by yourselves, and I'll catch up with you Monday." You don't do that. So
I've got nothing, I've got nothing planned for the whole weekend. I'm just gonna, get a cabana by the pool, put my feet up and chill out. As your burner account says, Urban Meyer took the keep grinding saying seriously. He certainly did. And as you say, he was definitely hitting above his batting average with that chip. Let's just put it that way.
So, I'm picking the Titans, not feeling good about it because they can lose any game with how poor their defense plays. So, but it's the Jags. They're not good. I think Trevor has a chance to have a good game though because, like I said, that secondary and the defense of the Titans is really good. But I'll take Titans too.
You think that he did flash against the Bengals, didn't he, Trevor Lawrence? But I think he definitely needs a game, even if they lose. If he controls the offense, makes some good throws, makes smart decisions, doesn't throw a lot of picks, and the defense lose it, then it's not on him, and it's a good building exercise for him. Because I think that's the problem at the moment with Trevor Lawrence. A bit like what with Fields and obviously Zach Wilson last week, they needed not a get-right game, but a game where they could be comfortable in the system, in the offense, still coming to terms that college football is nothing like the pros and it's 3 times as fast. And, they've got, and this is the thing that intrigued, going back to Lance just very quickly, everyone says he's got a very, very good brain and he sees a lot of things quickly. And that's why he was successful, in college. But everything now is speeded up. And that's the saying. And I kind of understand now. You hear all of the color guys or NFL Network guys saying the game's starting to slow down for them. And I now understand what that saying actually means, because it must be night and day coming from college. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, even the great QBs all started off quite badly and then, progressed in their roles. And as I said, I think Trevor Lawrence needs a game where maybe, so let's say, I don't know, he throws 2 touchdowns, but no interceptions and some rushing yards. And if they win 14-7, or if they win, just something to for it to start slowing down for him, because all the others, it is slowing down for him, but it still looks like it's frenetic for Trevor Lawrence. And he did look good against the Bungles, but he just needs consistency throughout the whole team for him to be better. And I know he's been missing his running back, so maybe he'll be back, because obviously you do need a running game to be able to do play action and things like that. So I'm going to be interested to see how Trevor Lawrence does fare in this game. Ryan, what do you think?
Fortunate for that return last week for that one guy from Jackson Jaguars. I think that was a busted coverage big time when that returned. So that's the reason why he was able to get that. A field goal. I'm sorry, it wasn't a return for a field goal. That's what it was. A missed field goal. But Trevor Lawrence, I don't know. I know he was number 1 pick, but looking forward to Henry. He's going through that defense. So I'm going for the Titans.
Yeah, as I say, I find it hard to make a case for the Jags. This next game as well does interest me. I think it's because I love Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert. What a star. I mean, to hit me, he is Mahomes Jr. That's how good I think this guy is. Browns, their defense is obviously ripping shit up this year. Started off slow. They're starting to get into it. Justin Herbert, 7-1 in the last 8 games. I think this is quite a tough game to call. I think, and I'm still not sold on Baker Mayfield. I don't know. I don't think they're going to extend him this year, because it's his 4th year, isn't it? And they can pick up his 5th year option before they make the decision on what they're going to do. I still think the Browns have got a great 1-2 running back, which does help Mayfield out, but sometimes he still doesn't, I don't know, looks clunky to me. And I think and I said this last year, I think he should stop making progressive adverts and worry about his footwork and his football. And those adverts annoy the fuck out of me. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't. Progressive adverts, do me a break. Really, seriously, come on. Every ad break, that shit is on. And I switch games because the games are rubbish and they go on an advert break. And he's in those as well. And it's like you can't escape the dude. But I think this Chargers defense played well, and they have been playing well. So I'm going to pick the Chargers and my guy Justin Herbert to win this in a close one. If the Chargers defense, Joey Bosa, etc., Derwin James can force Baker into making throws he doesn't want to throw, this could get out of hand. But I'm going to go Chargers by 7. Scott, what do you think?
The Browns are really good. They've got the running game. They've got the defense. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. The Chargers are a good team. This should be a good game. I'm gonna lean and pick the Browns though in this one. I think the difference is the defense of the Browns.
Interesting. Ryan, am I going to be lone wolfing, or are you going to make Mr. Smug lone wolf?
And Scott, you're going for the Browns?
Yep.
Oh man, you might be lone wolfing this because I'm going for Chargers, man.
We've got to make use of that high ceiling, you see, while Scott, because he wouldn't go outside and lone wolf because he'd wait. The neighbours' dogs would all start barking where he lives.
Yeah,
so
dog catcher might show up at my house too, looking around.
Exactly. So we've got to make the most of those high ceilings while we got them. So, Scott, you are the lone wolf on this one. I've just seen someone looking in your window, Scott. They don't know whether to get the dog warden because you're torturing a dog, or they couldn't work it out. Bears Raiders. Now, I'm not even going to pick this one because we know what I'm going to say, and I don't care. So I'm going to let you two decide. You know who I'm going for, and it isn't the Raiders. And I want to see Mr. Gruden.
The Chargers game. I want to bounce off the Charger game real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really think it might be a blowout. I really think it's going to be a blowout. The Chargers and the Browns. I'm thinking it might be a 3-touchdown lead. That's what I'm thinking. I may be wrong, but I'm going to go for that.
That will be interesting because that would mean that somehow the offense has obviously neutralized that very, very good defense with Clowney on one side and who's the dude on the other side? Myles Garrett. That's it. So that to me would be a huge upset if it was a 3-touchdown game. A huge upset. Bears Raiders, Scott. There you go.
Oh, fuck the Raiders. I'm picking the Bears.
Yeah, I mean.
Did you say you were picking the Raiders, Nick?
Don't be stupid. Of course I'm not picking the Raiders. You know me, I will never pick the Chiefs, the Raiders, or the Seahawks. Ever. Obviously the choke holders because of you, but and the Cowboys, of course. I'll never pick the Cowboys to win, ever.
You picked the Chiefs a couple weeks ago.
I did actually, didn't I?
You did.
I must have slept funny or banged my head on the way into the back cave or
Yeah, I was there.
something.
Drinking
Show.
too much.
I was going to say, no, they probably were playing some really deadbeat team, and I couldn't bear the thought of me being the only one to pick against them. Yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders are going to start doing their usual Raider things. I think the thing that's come out with that email as well is going to have a detrimental effect. And I think Justin Fields is going to come and ball out. Las Vegas apparently have won the last 3 games. Sorry, 1 or 2 at the last 3 games against Chicago. I think Khalil Mack might be out for the Bears, which is worrying as well. But yeah, I can't pick the Raiders. I just can't. What do you think, Ryan?
I think somehow, I don't know. I don't want to say that I don't believe the hype with Justin Fields. I don't want to say that, but I'm gonna be a lone wolf. I'm going for Raiders. Even though I don't want to go for him, but I'm gonna go for him because, just sake of winning,
You better warn your family sitting
Yeah,
behind you that
I know exactly what you mean, man. I know exactly what you. Yup.
Lone Wolf is on you, Ryan.
But to add to that,
no one's picking.
Yeah.
Except you.
I'll take the loss. But I'll take the loss though if they lose. I'll take the loss. If they lose, I'll take the loss. Okay. Oh!
Another Lone Wolf in the books. That's going to be an interesting game. I don't know when that news broke about that email, but I'm guessing that there hasn't been any pressures or anything since that came out. So maybe that gets brought up after the game, win or lose, who knows, and who knows what's going to happen with that. Giants, Cowboys. Dallas has won 7 of the last 8 games versus the New York Giants. But I don't care. Fuck the Cowboys. Couldn't give a shit. I don't care if they'd won 16 straight against the Giants. No way am I picking the Cowboys. I don't care. So, Scott, who are you going for?
Cowboys are pretty good this year, and the Giants are not good this year. They're terrible. I'm rolling the Cowboys.
I can't even admit that.
I don't like it, but I'm picking the Cowboys.
I can't even admit what you said. I can't say that statement, and I'm not confirming or denying it. But you have a point to a certain extent. But I just can't pick. I just cannot pick it. I just can't. Ryan, who have you got?
Believe me, Nick, I feel the same. I feel the same way you, Nick. I feel the same way. I don't want to go for Cowboys either. I really don't want to. But just for, but like I said about the other game, I'll take the loss. But I'm going for Cowboys. Yeah. Yeah, sir. I'll be nervous probably, but I don't know if
Never pick.
I'm going to be doing a lot of lone wolfing today. A lot of lone wolfing.
Never pick against those sorry ass Cowboys. I don't care how good they think they are. Colts, Ravens. Now, I have been disappointed with the Colts. I really have. Their defense was supposed to have been a lot better this year. I think we all kind of can see why the offense isn't very good. And injuries aside, I just don't think Wentz is the answer, and it's slowly becoming apparent, injuries or not. And the Ravens have looked really good. Obviously, they beat KC already. Lamar Jackson is 7-0, and he's the only QB since 1970 to win 5+ starts and no losses in October. I don't think that changes here. And I think this could get ugly. I really do think this could get ugly. And I'm going with the Ravens by 2-3 scores. Now, I know this is going to be hard for you, Mr. Smug, because obviously the Ravens are your nemesis. What do you think?
The Colts are terrible. Their defense, I thought, was slightly overrated last year. And like we talked about earlier, it's hard for defenses from year to year to stay as good as they are. Just with offenses and the way the rules are, you always see a team that has a really, really good defense one year and then the defense is not so great the next year. Their quarterback situation is a mess. They've got Jonathan Taylor, who's the one bright spot on that offense, but he can't carry the team on his back at the running back position. The Ravens, yeah, I mean, they kind of are our nemesis, but we gave that game away against them. We still own the Ravens. I'm not scared of the Ravens. We played the Ravens in the playoffs. We'll kick the Ravens' ass. So I'm picking Ravens. It's easy pick this in this game. Go with Baltimore.
Ryan?
Just to think, the Colts. To think that. Now look at them. They thought that line going because of Defoe, you know, and I was sad when he left, but I tell you right now, Carson Wentz is probably going to be running for his life because I like to know who's faster. We all know who's faster, though, of course. Lamar's faster. So, and like you said, Scott, about John Taylor, he's the only one carrying that team right now. So, basically, I got Baltimore. I got Ravens.
The thing that still amazes me when I watch the Ravens, and I've said this so many times, you don't know who's got the ball in that backfield when they do RPOs, and I can't keep up with it. It's kind of like a sleight of hand. Well, it is sleight of hand, obviously, but you see these really good magicians, and whilst I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is a magician, sometimes you don't know where the ball's gone. You don't know. The cameraman doesn't know where the ball's gone. The cameraman's following someone, and Lamar's 30 yards downfield, and all of a sudden they cut to him, and he's scoring I mean, it's madness. I don't know how. I'd love to see the mechanics of how they do it, and watch it live, like close up on the sideline during a game or something like that, because it's amazing. Because I still reckon 5 times out of 10 you wouldn't have a clue where that ball is. But yeah, it's going to be I think a one-sided affair. I don't think this next one's going to be one-sided. And again, I think I might be getting up early to watch this. Bills Chiefs. A lot of people say this is going to be a really, really good game. Josh Allen is coming into his own rematch of the 2020 AFC Championship game. We'll let you go first, Scott, as it's your team, and we all know which way you're going to side, obviously. But apart from obviously picking your team, do you think it's going to be close?
I said so.
Do you think it's going to be close? Do you think it isn't going to be close? How's the running game doing now? Because obviously I know you weren't very high on your running game a few weeks ago when the guy fumbled, etc. What's your thoughts on your Chiefs overall? Obviously, we know you're picking the Chiefs, but what are your thoughts overall on the Chiefs?
The Chiefs, I broke this down on a show I do. It's a Chiefs-focused show, the Kingdom Cast. If y'all want to go check it out, we kind of broke this game down in pretty good detail. This game to me it's like the game, like the AFC Championship game last year. The Bills had been rolling a bunch of mediocre to bad opponents, and everybody thought that they were going to come in and give the Chiefs a game, and they were, the team to beat, and the Chiefs had been winning all these close games, and they came into Arrowhead, and the Chiefs kicked their ass. The Bills, Josh Allen has not been as good this year as he was the second half of last year when he started getting into MVP consideration and had talk of him being the most valuable player. The Chiefs defense, though, is a big concern at this point. They're they're last in yards, and they're last. They might be second to last in yards, but they're last in points per game given up. The Eagles' offense looked like, looked like the Peyton Manning Colts or something back in the night. Our defense is just poor. So we're going to be in every game. Every opponent's going to be able to score some points, it looks like, right now on our defense. But the games at home, the Chiefs handled the Bills fairly easily twice last year. I don't know if they've made up that much ground. Yeah, the Bills beat the Texans 40-0 last week, but Davis Mills was the Texans quarterback, and they beat up the Dolphins, but they had a backup quarterback. They also lost to the Steelers at home week 1. So they're not invincible. Josh Allen has not played as well as people think. Just the scores and the blowout wins are making people think he's been better than he really has been. That defense, a lot of people are talking about their defense. They're not playing Davis Mills and the Texans this week. They're coming into Arrowhead in a primetime game. The Chiefs are hungry. They got back to 2-2. They're going to score a lot of points. I'm thinking this is going to be one of those 41, 38, 44, 41 games. I'm leaning the Chiefs. I think they get it done at home against the Bills.
Ryan, what say you?
Oh, there you go. This one's going to be a dog fight. To me, it's going to be a dog fight. Because I know Scott was talking about defense for Chiefs out there right now. Got both good arms, real good arms, and they both escape from pressure. That's that. It's going to be, I'm telling you. And Bill's defense is pretty doing good, but Chiefs' defenses went down. To me, I don't know what everybody thinks about it, but to me, yeah. So I'll give the edge. I'll definitely give the edge to the Bills. I might be a lone wolf in this, but I'll go for the Bills.
No, you're not going to be lone wolf, and I know Nick ain't picking the Chiefs.
You don't know. You don't know.
I do know.
Right. Well, before the inevitable comes, what I will say, we all know that if it becomes a shootout, Mahomes has got the edge. And I know the Bills' defense is better than the Chiefs at the moment, obviously. Can I see Josh Allen getting to a shootout and coming out against Mahomes? Again, I think it all depends on how the Bills' defense plays. Because they've obviously got so many weapons, the Chiefs, so many weapons. And again, he does like side arms, overarms, he probably closes his eyes, no look, does all that, does the whole repertoire. Tyreek Hill. I really don't want to pick the Chiefs. I so want to pick the Bills.
Come on.
I'm going for a draw. Because I can't, honestly, I can't pick against them. I don't want to pick against the Chiefs, and I really don't want to pick against the Bills. So I will do a lone wolf based purely on a draw.
Well, that's all of us, isn't it?
I can't split. I really can't. And as you say, you can't trust your defense at the moment, Scott. But you can trust the offense, and that's the big difference. And it only takes one or two stops from the Bills' defense. You're playing catch up. And we all know they can catch up. Don't get me wrong, we know the Chiefs can catch up. But I think that's where the Bills have the slight advantage, and it's minuscule. So I'm going to lone wolf. I'm going to go for the tie, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to be, well, of course I'm going to be wrong. But I just think this has got, apart from obviously the last game we're going to do, which is the Niners game, this is one of the most intriguing games of the week.
I'm going to bounce off Nick real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said, I'm going to bounce off of me when I said it was going to be a fight. It's whoever has the last possession. I think that's what it comes down to.
Who would you? Okay, let's ask this question. I'm going to lone wolf, and then I'm going to ask a question about this game. So I've said the tie. Who do you trust more in the last, with 1 minute 30 on the clock, out of all of the QBs? But we're not going to say Sam Darnold or anyone like that. Out of Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Allen,
Wilson.
anyone else you can think of? Who would you trust the most?
Wilson.
Russell Wilson, yeah, there's another one.
Oh.
Who would you trust out of all of those the most, that you know they're gonna get you in a position to win the game, whether it's a field goal, touchdown, whatever. I mean, I would take Mahomes purely because of the unexpectedness of what he can do. We all know someone like Russell Wilson can extend plays, can do this, can do that. But he's buying time for his receivers to get open on a scramble drill and then just bomb it. Whereas Mahomes, it's effortless for him. 50 yards and it just looks like he's flicking it. Whereas me, I'd probably put the shoulder out trying to throw 30 yards. But out of all of the QBs that are around, I think, and even Tom Brady to a point, the older they get, the more limited they get. Whereas I don't know how long Mahomes is going to play in this league, but out of all of those, I would trust Mahomes more to put me in a position to win with 1 minute 30 on the 25-yard line, because he can do it in one play. Let's not forget, Tyreek Hill gets open and it's gone. Laser, done. Finished. Forget about it. What do you? Who? I know obviously you're going to be a bit biased with this, Scott, but would you say out of those you would trust your QB more than any of the others, or is it a bit closer, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think Mahomes and Rodgers are like, Mahomes is 1A and Rodgers would be 1B for me. And I just give the edge slightly to Patrick because, like you said, he has more weapons right now than Aaron Rodgers has. He has Kelsey. He has Hill. He's got, they brought Josh Gordon in. He's going to play this week. I'm really interested to see what he can do with Patrick after having some time off and coming back into the league. So, yeah, Patrick has a few more weapons than Rodgers, but Rodgers has shown that he can do it. The guy has done it for a long time. So, give me Patrick 1A, and then give me Rodgers fairly close second, 1B.
Depends if Rodgers is playing the 49ers every week and Devontae Adams gets wide open one-on-one, then you obviously know what's going to happen there. Right. I'm interested with this Josh Gordon thing. I'd like to see him succeed. And I don't know, I've still got my doubts because obviously it's all been documented about, substance abuse and mental health and stuff. And I would have thought by now that if anyone could have fixed him, it would have been, and no disrespect to Andy Reid, but it would have been Bill Belichick. But then we obviously saw, and I think there was a big clash there with Antonio Brown and Bill Belichick. But I hope it works out for the guy. Is Andy Reid's health all okay and everything now, Scott? Because I know he went to hospital, didn't he? And I didn't hear any more about that after. Yeah, is he back to?
He was on the sideline for the Eagles game last week and says he feels fine and he feels great, and they're playing it off like it was no big deal. So I don't have any information to the contrary. So I guess we'll just take their word for it.
Definitely. And do you think Josh Gordon can be kept on the straight and narrow by Andy Reid and the staff there?
They got a lot of leaders. Andy Reid, everybody talks about his leadership. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. They've got Tyrann Mathieu. They've got a lot of leadership in the locker room and from the coaching staff. So, but that doesn't mean, they've brought players in, and Kareem Hunt had his issues and he got shipped out. So he's in as good a position as he's ever been right now to resurrect his career and like you said, stay on the straight and narrow. But addiction and mental health stuff is so hard to say if the person's doing everything they need to do. That stuff you can be doing great one day, and the next day you're not doing good anymore. So
yeah, that's the thing with mental health issues. Substance abuse you kind of can see, but the mental side of it you can't, and that's the hardest fight I think a lot of people
and they go hand in hand, unfortunately.
Exactly.
A lot of the time,
And that's the hidden.
So
I'm not hidden killer is the wrong thing, and I don't mean it how it sounds, but that's the thing, the mental thing that you don't see that people hide, and I think that's a lot of the problems that he's had have been mental problems, and he hasn't probably admitted to himself that he's got issues, and then one goes into the other, and then you're back to square one again. So I just hope, he's conquered his demons, and we can finally see
physically
what player he was, because he was a great player.
Yeah. Physically, he's supremely talented. He's physically gifted. He's with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in an offense that is probably better than any offense he's played in so far. Everything's right there for him to take advantage of it, and he's got a great opportunity to be really good, and I'm expecting him to be good.
Fingers crossed he is. Fingers crossed he is. Who would you say was your quarterback, Ryan? 1 minute 30 out of the one that you kind of mentioned, or have you got someone else in mind that's playing at the moment who you trust more to get you in a position to score and walk off?
Of course, we look at the extended play so you get down the field. Okay. Then you look at wide receivers, tight ends, who can get open. Then you look at the defenses who they're going against. At the time when you throw a bomb, about 50 yards, 60 yards, just to get in field goal range. Because they started at 25 now. Remember, they used to start at 20, and now they start at 25. They get five extra yards, advantage. So to me, tough though. It's a tough one. It really is. I do not want to pick. I'm sorry, I can't stand Seahawks. So to me, oh boy, it's a very tough one. It really is. But I'm not putting Josh Allen in there. No, he's got an arm, but I don't think he has that good of an arm to throw like that. But I really, really hate to do it. It was between two quarterbacks, and of course Scott picked them. Between two quarterbacks, Mahomes and Rodgers. And even though Mahomes beat us, so I really hate to do it. I'm going to go for Rodgers. Go for Rodgers, and then go for Mahomes.
Interesting. Both very, very good, very, very good when it counts. But we've saved the main event of the evening, as they say. 49ers, Trey Day, Trey area, Trey Lance, Jimmy G's out. I think the two of us know who we're picking. And I think there could be another high ceiling lone wolf coming. Just as a guess, I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously picking the Niners. That's obvious. I've got to go with my team, even though I do have trepidations about this. I think, again, Cardinals started well last year and then fell off and ended up, I think, 8-8, something like that. And they're kind of like the Raiders. You wait for them to fuck it up, and then the wheels come off and they go in the can. This year may be different. I don't know. But the stage is set for a Kaepernick-type performance from Trey Lance. We all know what happened, Kaepernick's first game. And I think the Niners win it on a field goal. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think that the thing that the Niners have got is they don't really have any tape on Lance. Now, everyone can point back and say, well, they had half a game last week to see. But as I said earlier, before you guys joined, I don't think those were plays designed for Trey Lance. That was Jimmy G's playbook. And of course, they then had to cherry pick what they had as opposed to having all 70 play or however many plays that they have up their sleeve to suit what Trey can do. So they got to keep Chandler Jones and all the defensive line off of Lance, but the advantage he has is he has escapability. Whether he pulls the ball down and runs, or whether he can throw outside the numbers. I mean, a lot of people pointed last week to that 80 or 70 or 60-yard pass to Deebo Samuel that was wide open. I could have hit that pass. It was busted. It was a busted coverage, and Deebo had to stop for the ball. And that's not a slight on Lance at all. Don't get me wrong, because it looked fantastic. But when then you go back and look at it again, he had to wait for it. He was lucky that there weren't players. I think it was something like 20 yards separation, which made it quite easy. It was a pitch and catch, and that's part of obviously what Kyle can do. He can scheme players open. Admittedly, that was a busted coverage, but that's the kind of things you see with Kittle, who I believe isn't going to be playing, or George Brittle, as you called him, Scott. I did see that, George Brittle. Don't worry. I'll wait until I can get something back on you. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm going to go for a steady debut start for Lance, and I'm going Niners by 3. I think it's going to be not vanilla, but I think it's going to be a steady game plan to get him comfortable. I don't think we're going to see any sort of gadget plays or trick plays. I just think it's going to be easing him in to see how he does. And if he plays above average, personally, we may have seen the last of Jimmy G. And I'm one of the biggest Jimmy G fans, as everyone knows. If we see average Trey Lance, and as you said earlier, Scott, and I agree with you about this has been forced on the team. It's not Jimmy is awful, so put his ass on the bench and put Lance in there to see what he can do. This has been forced on the team. So if we win, but we win ugly, and it's kind of like an up and down game for Lance, I think if Jimmy G's fit, he'll play again. And nothing that the coach has said, which obviously I did say I think Carl's full of shit when he does his pressers, but it still points to me that maybe they're still not sold on Lance, and the fact that, if Jimmy's fit for the next game and Lance isn't that good, then I think we still see Jimmy G. But if Lance comes out and balls out and carries on that momentum, and he carries it on into, after the game and all things like that, we may have seen the last of Jimmy. It's a coin flip for me. But yeah, I'm going Niners by 3. Scott, what do you think?
I was really impressed by the Cardinals against the Rams last week. I thought the Rams were the best team in the NFC. They, with Matthew Stafford, that offense, their defense. But again, man, we've been talking about this the whole show. Defenses one year to the next can fall off quickly. The Rams defense hasn't looked as dominant as they have the last few years now, and which is a shame now, because they got a quarterback that is unlocked and maximize the potential of that offense. So I was really surprised that the Cardinals went in and handled the Rams and won that game as easily as they did. They've got weapons. Unfortunately for the 49ers, the defense and the secondary has been hit by injuries again this year. They've kind of struggled defensively. Their pass rush is great still. So they've got that to kind of lean on and help them out. Trey being kind of rushed in here at the last minute, so to speak. Not a lot of time. I guess you could say he's had the week to prepare. It's not like he's coming in the beginning of the first quarter with Jimmy G getting hurt in this game. But I just don't think it's lining up good for the 49ers this week. I think the Cardinals win, and I think they probably win by 7-10 points, somewhere there. I just feel that it's a little bit too much for Trey and this kind of beat up 49ers defense right now at this point in the season. So I'm going to roll the Cardinals. So like I said, I think they win somewhere 23, 24, 14, somewhere in there maybe.
I think the biggest thing this week, as opposed to last week, is the Niners were murdering Russie Wussy and that offense last week. And I think at one point they were minus 12 and we only had 7 points. And that's the biggest argument that everyone's had is Jimmy G limiting and he hasn't made throws. And we could have been 21-0 up at half time, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think you see that. And again, I'm only going on what people are saying, and bear in mind, everyone's so high on Trey Lance. If Lance was in last week, we may have been in a different position. That we would have been so far ahead that maybe the Seahawks couldn't have come back. But obviously we weren't, and that defense was playing top 3 defense that first half, the whole of the first half. They were making Wilson uncomfortable. D Ford was on it. Bosa was on it. And that's what we've got to hope. That I know, obviously, that they've got Kyler's got the weapons, but the other difference is I think deep down they knew Jimmy G wasn't going to play this week, so they've been preparing from Monday, but using Lance as a Kyler Murray type player, and they did that with him. I know it's a bit different now because he's the starter, but they used him in week 2 as the scout team QB to play like Jalen Hurts, and that did see. I mean, the defense wasn't spectacular, but they did limit him in certain aspects of being mobile. But I know we're now and Russell Wilson last week didn't look like Russell Wilson because he was under duress a lot.
Yeah.
But now and he is older, I know, but he's got probably a better football brain than Kyler Murray. But you're coming up against someone really, really shifty. You know, Russell Wilson of 6-7 years ago, I would say, is Kyler Murray, but without the arm. And he has got an arm, don't get me wrong, but he is not Russell Wilson.
Sure.
So last week did give me hope that we could stand a chance this week. And with Lance being in there, I think we do have a better chance because he is shifty and he can do those plays like Kyler and Russell to an extent. So it will be interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm not going to be stunned if the 49ers win or anything like that. I don't think it's that much of a mismatch or that easy of a win for the Cardinals. But I do think they win 27-20, 27-21, somewhere in there.
It's one of those games, obviously, being a divisional game, that the Niners now, with Seattle losing, and it will be hilarious if the Niners do win because Seattle will be 2-3, and I think that's hilarious. Sorry, Seattle fans, and sorry, Russie Wussy, but I just think that's hilarious because everybody, the Seahawks is going to win this division easily, and we're doing this, and we're not anymore. You're not anymore.
No.
Sorry. Ryan, what's your take on all this?
What's that say right there? Always faithful. You know what I'm going for. Now, we've never had a mobile quarterback Kaepernick. Okay, this offense is going to be clicking since he's in there. Mitchell back. We have Thurman in there now. I'm hoping our run game will start going now better with Lance in there. Now, it's a shame that most was not in there. If most of us was in there, it'd be a whole different ballgame with him too. Because our offense would be clicking. Run game, blocking. George Kittle's probably going to be out, I imagine, because he's doubtful. Okay? We're missing that one block from him. Because he can block. He can help open up a hole for us. So, basically, I think we're just going to go. I'm hoping if Dwelly's going to play and goes out, I hope he can block to help that run game. But to me, I mean, I just hope Lance and hopefully do some RPOs because we had never seen RPOs in a while since we had Kaepernick. So, I mean, to me, in my final score prediction, we need to open up with a touchdown against this team. We did to. I mean, I don't want to go field goal. I don't want no field goal. I want a touchdown. Like last week, we scored a touchdown. But then our offense broke down because of what with either with the run offense we had going or what we couldn't scream our drives keep going. That killed us last week. So basically, if we can get our run game going, get that going, get Lance in the groove that he knows he can get into, man, I hope we do jump out a good lead. I'm hoping we do. And I hope our defense does the same thing we did last week. If our defense does it like last week, we're in this game. We are in it. We got this game going.
That first half defensive performance, I mean, that amazed me because I didn't think it was going to be that good. And they were teeing off on that line and Russell. And I agree with you. We got to start fast. Do you think the first play under center from Lance is going to be an RPO or a pass, or is it going to be a conservative handoff and a run up the middle?
All I got to say is if Lance does an RPO, I hope he sells it very well. Hope he sells it to the defense. Hope he sells it to the linebackers. If he can move when the ball gets off to Mitchell or whoever's our first, your Sermon or Mitchell, whoever's going to be. I hope he sells it very well, and then just running fine, just running through that. Hopefully, find a nice hole. If he can find a nice hole, I would love to see Lance break one off. I would love to see it.
It's definitely going to be interesting, and I don't know if Carl is actually. Carl, are you with us?
Hello.
Look, he's in it. Look at the horrible colour scheme in that hotel room. Christ, that's bad. But he's got his cider. Look, he's officially. Oh, that is horrendous. I wouldn't want to look at those colour walls when I've had a sheep pull later on. It'd make me feel.
That's not the most horrendous part. That's not the most horrendous part. That's the most horrendous part.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Damn, Carl, that looks like a penthouse suite, man.
It's not more like a doghouse suite or the outhouse.
No.
How big is that place? That's a hotel room?
It's a hotel room, yeah. But...
Yeah, it look like a hotel room to me.
I didn't know Carl was balling like that.
Honestly, I couldn't look at those walls or that picture. That would make me feel ill just looking at all that lot. There's too much going on in the decor. Carl, you had the deciding vote on. Carl, you've got the deciding vote on whether we get the fourth lone wolf from Mr. Smug. Obviously, two of us have gone homerism on this 49ers Cardinals game. Are you going to let him do a record lone wolf, or are you going to give us a split decision?
Split. I think the Cardinals win.
I shouldn't have brought him back in here. I should have just kicked his ass back out so that Mr. Smug should have lone wolfed it for a record time.
He's thinking too much. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign.
But I am getting dizzy by the amount of 12s you're doing. I thought you were in a hotel room, not on a Strictly Come Dancing show, because you're doing a lot of 12s there. Stand still. You're making me feel ill. Now, one more thing to discuss before we get up out of here, and hopefully all of you are boxing fans, or at least have a vested interest in this fight tonight. Obviously, heavyweight championship, WBC. Our guy from England, the Gypsy King, is going up against probably one of the hardest one-punch hitters, ex-hardest one-punch hitters in Deontay Wilder. Carl won't be watching it because he's going to be laying in a gutter somewhere in London, I expect, by about 3 o'clock in the morning. But I'll get his opinion. Carl, are you into your boxing? Are you interested in this fight? What's your thoughts? You're on mute. He's on mute. You're on mute. That's better. Try that.
Not used to doing this on the phone. No, I'm a huge boxing fan. My stepfather, God rest his soul, got me into it at a very, very young age. This fight has got some intrigue to it, but I think Deontay Wilder, apparently he's finally learned now how to box. The thing is that Tyson Fury has been doing it since he was in fucking nappies. I think Fury just wants to win this once and for all, and I can personally see that. Wilder, I think the only way I think Wilder's going to actually win this fight is if he actually works Tyson Fury in the later rounds. And the reason why I say that is because obviously Fury, he's put on an extra 20 pounds from his last fight, so he's carrying a bit more weight on him this time round. But I think Fury is just a better boxer all around, and I have to go with Tyson Fury to win this fight.
Scott, are you a boxing fan? You into your boxing? Are you going to be watching this?
Yeah, I enjoy boxing. I grew up watching it. My dad watched boxing when I was younger, and so I'm just old enough to still kind of remember when boxing was still somewhat big in America. I know it's bigger over in other countries than it is here. It's behind a lot of things over in the States these days. Yeah, Fury is the better boxer. He's beaten him already twice, right? So, but the thing is it's just when you're boxing a guy like Wilder, you slip up and make one mistake, and you might be on your back on the mat, seeing birds flying around and seeing stars. So it's just tough to beat someone for a third time too, just to keep beating someone over and over and over. But I'm going to be rolling Fury. I think he gets the job done, like Carl said. I think he settles this thing here and kind of puts it to bed that he's the better boxer and wins the fight.
What do you think, Ryan? Are you a boxing fan? Are you going to be watching?
I'm not a boxing fan. I'm not a boxing fan, really. But my last match I ever was Tyson versus Mayfield. That was my last one I ever watched. I never watched any boxing after that, but I do watch MMA. I do. But if I didn't want to, I don't bet on boxing because I don't watch it. But I know Fury from WWE when he was in WWE before with Braun Strowman. So I'll be for him.
Definitely. I mean, for me, I love boxing. I love heavyweights. I mean, I'm old enough to remember watching Ali fight. That's how old I am. And Tyson and the first fight, Wilder hit Fury with everything, knocked him down twice. When he went down in the 12th, his eyes were closed, and I thought, that's it. There's no way he's getting up. And he was like the Undertaker rising out of the coffin in the WWE. That's how. And I've watched it probably every night this week. I've watched the highlights of both fights, and Wilder has thrown everything at him, and he can't beat him. And that's got to be up here. And I don't care how you try and alter your style and your angles of where you're throwing the punches. And he threw everything at Tyson Fury, and he got up. Even in the second fight, I thought Tyson went after him and basically boxed him into submission. Yeah, you could say that one of the knockdowns that Fury got was kind of on the ear, around the side of the head, but it wasn't an illegal blow. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. I think Tyson Fury wins it in 8. It's going to be probably some of the greatest rounds of boxing. And I just think that in Fury's head, he knows he can't get beaten. And in Deontay Wilder's head, it must be, well, I've hit him with everything. I can't hit him with any more, because you can't hit any harder than he hit him. You can't. It's physically impossible to get more strength behind a punch, because although he's slimmed down, it's still the same punching power. And he said he's going to go after the body, the neck, the head. And he's looked very impressive in training, but, you know, not being funny, hitting a bag and then having Tyson Fury leaning on you and pushing you back and forcing you back, that takes it out of you. And that's where I think Tyson, keeping on the front foot and trying to keep Deontay from throwing those right hands, he's going to have to work the body and try and wear him down. And I don't think that's Tyson. That's, you know, getting hit in the head and hitting the body is obviously two different things. But I don't think he's weak enough to fall for that. So I'm really, really looking forward to this fight. I think it's probably going to be 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I'm definitely going to be up for it. I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock, make sure I'm awake, because I don't want to miss it. I've seen all the excuses from Wilder, and they've ranged from the ring walk was far too taxing, and, you know, all that crap he had on was far too heavy. Well, you picked it, so that's your tough shit, mate. Tyson Fury had knuckle dusters in his gloves. Ridiculous. Because if that was the case, he would have been spark out long before he troubled him in the 4th round. I can't wait. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm going to say 8th round knockout. I can't see it going to the later rounds, because I think if Wilder comes out fighting like he says he's going to fight, he'll be gassed after 6, and then Tyson will pick him off in the 7th, wear him down, and then in the 8th he'll put him away. But I can't wait. I mean, I'm not going to have a bet on the fight because the odds aren't that great, because it's too close to call. Because you've always got a puncher's chance being Deontay Wilder. But I just think Tyson is going to be too strong for him. He's going to bully him. He's going to roughhouse him. And Wilder doesn't like that, because Wilder likes to be in charge, where Fury won't let you. He will not let you be in charge. So it's going to be interesting. Right, final thoughts before we get up out of here. Can be on football, can be boxing, can be Carl's shitty hotel room with all the freaky colours and the murals. Can be whatever you like. Scott, final thoughts.
Looking forward to some good games this weekend. Obviously, it's good. We didn't have the show last week because you were traveling, and so it's good to be back on here talking football. And it's good to see Carl back in here. You know, miss seeing him this week. I know he's got some things going on, but if you need anything at all, Carl, it's good to have you back, man. You know how to get a hold of me. So,
Indeed. Ryan, closing thoughts.
Hit the like and subscribe button many times you want. Now, tomorrow before the game, watching my yes, I'm a Gators fan. I'm a Florida Gators fan. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a Florida Gators fan watching that. So, and I would definitely be watching tomorrow morning's game. So, see how that goes. And for me, from all you, thank you very much for having me on here. I'll be proud to do it again. And I just hope Lance can just do his thing and just grow up what he loved doing. And that's playing football. Go ahead, Carl.
Carl, closing thoughts.
Good luck to everyone's teams. Looking forward to a really interesting game tomorrow between the Falcons and the Jets. It's good to be back on. It's been a while, but yeah, all good to go, all excited. I'm now on the cans, so yeah, let's go.
Mate, with that colour scheme, in that hotel, you need to be on the cans. Trust me. It will look a lot better after about 6. It might start all blending into one another. My final thoughts, Trey Lance, give us some hope. Give us something to, as 49ers fans, that we can hang on for, whether it's the rest of this season, whether it's next season. Let's just see you take command of that offense, take it over. Defense, step up. Let's see a good game. All the teams, Bills, Chiefs, going to be a good one. Hopefully it'll be a shootout. Tyson Fury, I've got every faith in you, because I don't want to be shouting at the TV at like 6 a.m. if your bum ass is on the canvas and I've had to get up early. I'm sure you won't let me down. Thank you to everyone that watched. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching the replay, please put some comments in under this video. I'm Alfred. He's Carl. I'm definitely going to get this wrong. He's Scott. That's that way. And he's Ryan. This has been the Shank Club NFL Saturday Show. See you all next week. Back on Wednesday. If you can't make it Wednesday, we'll be back next Saturday talking all things NFL. I'm Nick. Thank you for joining. Take care, everyone. See you again soon. Stay safe. See you next week. Take care.